I've been a firefighter for 8 years now. Volunteer department, small town in the Adirondacks called Ashford. Population maybe 1,200 if you count the seasonal folks. In that time, I've pulled bodies from car wrecks, carried children out of burning houses, done CPR on people who didn't make it. I've seen things that would make most people quit, but I always came back. Someone has to do this job, right? Someone has to show up when people call for help. My name's Tom. I'm 32, divorced for 3 years now. Live alone in a cabin about 2 miles outside town, right at the edge where the forest really starts to thicken. It's quiet out here. Peaceful, usually. I like it that way. Our crew is small. Chief Davis has been running the department for 20 years. Good man, knows what he's doing. Rick was our veteran, 50-something. Been fighting fires since before I was born. Then there's Brandon, the new kid. Only been with us about a year. Few other guys rotate through, but that's the core team. I'm telling you this so you understand I'm not some rookie who spooks easy. I've been in burning buildings when the roof's about to come down. I've pulled people from wrecks where I had to work around the bodies of their family members. I don't scare easy, but nothing prepared me for what we found in the Whitaker house last February. The call came in around 11 at night. I was already in bed, almost asleep, when my pager went off. Structure fire, old Whitaker property on Logging Road 7. I knew the place. Everyone in town did. Big old house, built back in the 20s, been empty for decades. The Whitaker family moved away before I was born, and the place had just sat there, slowly falling apart. I threw on my clothes and drove to the station. Chief Davis was already there with Rick and Brandon. We geared up quick, loaded into the truck. The property was remote, 20 minutes up a logging road that barely got maintained. In February, it was a mess of ice and packed snow. Probably kids, Rick said as we drove. Urbex types started a campfire. Things got out of hand. Made sense. We'd responded to a few calls like that over the years, but something felt off from the start. When we pulled up to the property, the house was fully engulfed. Flames covered the entire structure, reaching up into the night sky. Should have been loud. Fire is always loud. The roar of it, the crack and pop of wood splitting, glass shattering. But this was silent, completely, utterly silent. We sat there in the truck for a moment, just staring. Anyone else hearing that? Brandon asked quietly. Hearing what? Chief Davis said. Exactly. We got out, started setting up. I kept watching the flames, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. Inside the windows, there were shadows moving. At first, I thought it was just the fire playing tricks, the way flames cast weird shapes. But these shadows were wrong. Too tall, moving in jerky, unnatural ways, like stop-motion animation. Chief, I said, we got people inside? He shook his head. Can't be. Place has been empty for years. But we all saw them, those shapes moving behind the flames. Rick was hooking up the hose when the fire just stopped. Not gradually, not like it was burning out. It was there, and then it wasn't. Like someone flipped a switch. The flames vanished, and the house stood there in the darkness, completely intact. What the hell? Rick breathed. Chief Davis ordered us to investigate. We approached carefully, axes ready, checking for hotspots. The front door was unlocked. When we went inside, I kept my hand on the wall, feeling for heat. Nothing. The interior was cold, untouched. No smoke damage, no char, nothing. It was like the fire had never happened. "This doesn't make sense," Brandon said. His voice was shaking a little. We cleared the first floor, then the second. Everything was covered in dust and old furniture. Exactly what you'd expect from an abandoned house. We were about to leave when Rick called out from the kitchen. "Got a door here." We joined him. There was a basement door I'd swear hadn't been in the blueprints we'd reviewed on the way over. Heavy wood, old iron handle. When I got close to it, I could feel warmth radiating off it. "That's weird," I said, reaching out to touch it. "Don't," Chief Davis said sharply. I pulled my hand back. He was right. The door had deep scratch marks on the inside. We could see them where the wood had split near the frame. Long gouges like fingernails or claws. "Everyone out," Chief Davis ordered. "Now." We didn't argue. As we walked back through the house, I looked back at that door. The handle was moving, just slightly, like someone on the other side was testing it. We drove back to the station in silence. Chief Davis filed a report. Faulty wiring, probably. Some kind of electrical fire that burned itself out. But we all knew that wasn't what happened. I couldn't sleep that night. Kept thinking about those shadows in the windows, the way they moved, the scratch marks on the door, the feeling that something had been trying to get out. The calls started coming in about 2 weeks later. First was a medical emergency. Hypothermia victim found wandering Route 7, about a mile from the Whitaker property. Middle-aged guy named Dennis, local, should have known better than to be out in that cold without proper gear. We found him in just jeans and a t-shirt, stumbling down the middle of the road at 2 in the morning. He was conscious but not making much sense. Kept saying, "They're still down there," over and over. EMTs took him to the hospital in Lake Placid. I heard later he was treated and released, but he moved out of town the next week. Wouldn't talk to anyone about what happened. A few days after that, brush fire off Route 7. Strange one. The wind was blowing east, but the fire spread west, right against it. Brandon and I were there, watched it happen. Fire just moved wrong, like it had a mind of its own. Then it hit the tree line of the Whitaker property and stopped dead. Just went out, same as the house fire. "Tom," Brandon said, "this is messed up." I didn't disagree. The third call was search and rescue. Hiker went missing on the trails near the property. Woman named Jennifer, experienced hiker, knew the area well. We found her 3 miles from where she'd started, sitting on a rock, staring at nothing. She insisted she never left the trail. Said she'd been walking for 10 minutes, same path she'd walked 100 times. But the trees moved. 1 second she was on familiar ground. The next she was somewhere else. She kept saying the forest had rearranged itself around her. They sent her to a hospital for evaluation. Chief Davis told us not to talk about it. But I was talking about it, at least in my own head. 3 incidents, all near the same property. And I couldn't shake the memory of that basement door, the warmth coming off it, those scratch marks. That's when things started happening at my cabin. First time I heard the footsteps, I thought it was a deer. I get them on my property all the time, especially in winter when food is scarce. It was around 2 in the morning. I woke up to the sound of something walking across my porch. Slow, deliberate steps. Back and forth, back and forth. I lay there in the dark, listening. The steps were too heavy for a deer, too measured. After about 5 minutes, they stopped. In the morning, I checked the porch. Nothing there. It happened again 2 nights later. Same time, same slow walking. This time I got up, grabbed my flashlight, went to the window. The footsteps stopped the second I moved. I looked out at the porch, saw nothing. But at the edge of my property, right where the tree started, there was a figure. It was too dark to make out details, but I could see the basic shape. Human, roughly. But something about it was wrong. The proportions were off, too tall, maybe, or the limbs were too long. It just stood there, perfectly still, facing my cabin. I watched it for a full minute. It didn't move, didn't sway, didn't shift weight, just stood. I turned on the porch light. When I looked back, it was gone. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. At dawn, I went outside to check. There were footprints in the snow. Bare footprints, human-shaped but larger than mine. They came from the forest, approached my cabin, circled it 3 times. I followed them all the way around, then went back into the trees. Barefoot, in February, in the Adirondacks. I called Rick that morning, asked if he'd noticed anything strange lately. He was quiet for a long moment. "Tom," he said finally, "my advice, whatever you're thinking about, stop thinking about it. Some things are better left alone." He wouldn't say anything else, just told me to be careful and hung up. The call came in on a Tuesday night. Vehicle accident, Route 7, near the Whitaker property. Single vehicle, pickup truck versus tree. We arrived to find Tommy Chen's truck wrapped around an old oak. The front end was completely destroyed, windshield shattered. But Tommy was sitting upright in the driver's seat, seatbelt on, staring straight ahead. "Tommy," I called, approaching carefully. "Can you hear me?" No response. His eyes were open, fixed on something in the distance. I followed his gaze. He was staring at the Whitaker house, barely visible through the trees. Brandon and I got him out of the truck. No obvious injuries, no blood. But he wouldn't respond to us, wouldn't blink, just kept staring in that direction. "Tommy, what happened?" Chief Davis asked. Finally, Tommy blinked. He looked at the chief, and his eyes were full of terror. "The door," he whispered. "The door in the ground. It opened." "What door?" Chief Davis asked. "I saw it. I was driving past and I saw it. In the yard. The door opened and something..." He started screaming. Just screaming, no words, pulling away from us. We got him calmed down enough for the EMTS to take over. Rick volunteered to check the property, make sure there wasn't an actual hazard. Chief Davis nodded, and Rick walked up the driveway toward the house. He was gone for 15 minutes. When he came back, his face was white. He wouldn't look at any of us. "Rick," Chief Davis said, "what did you see?" Rick shook his head. "Nothing. Everything's fine. Let's go." That was it. He got in the truck and sat there, staring at his hands. That night, around midnight, my phone rang. "Rick, Tom, it's me. I need you to listen carefully." His voice was shaking. "Don't go back there. Whatever's in that basement, whatever's under that house, we need to leave it alone. Do you understand? Rick, What did you see? I saw the door. The one Tommy was talking about. It's not in the house, Tom. It's in the yard, in the ground, and it's open. Just a few inches, but it's open. And I heard. He stopped. I could hear him breathing hard. Just promise me you won't go back there. I promise, I lied. I mean it, Tom. I've seen a lot in my years. This is different. This is wrong. He hung up. The next morning, Rick put in for early retirement, 30 years with the department, and he walked away without a backward glance. I lasted 3 days before I went back. I told myself I was just checking on the property, making sure it was secure, but the truth was I couldn't stop thinking about it. The silent fire, the shadows in the windows, the scratch marks, Tommy's face when he talked about the door, Rick's fear. I asked Brandon to come with me. He was reluctant, but eventually agreed. We went during the day, told ourselves it was just a quick look. Unofficial, off-duty, just 2 guys checking on an abandoned property. The house looked normal in daylight, old, run down, but normal. We found the door in the yard about 20 feet from the house. It was wooden, set flat in the ground like an old storm cellar entrance, and it was open, just like Rick had said. A few inches, enough to see darkness underneath. Maybe we should call the chief, Brandon said. And tell him what? That we came out here without authorization? He didn't have an answer for that. I pulled the door open. It was heavy, but it moved smoothly, no rust on the hinges. Underneath was a set of stairs descending into darkness. Stone stairs, old, really old. This doesn't look like a storm cellar, I said. Tom, I don't like this. Neither did I, but I was already heading down. The stairs went deep, deeper than they should have been able to go. We were well below basement level, had to be at least 30 feet down. The temperature dropped as we descended. Our breath came out in clouds. At the bottom, a dirt tunnel extended into darkness. Our flashlights barely penetrated it. The tunnel was narrow, maybe 4 feet across, the ceiling just high enough for me to stand up straight, and I could hear something breathing, deep, slow breaths, like something huge sleeping just out of sight. We should go, Brandon whispered. That's when I saw the handprints. They were pressed into the dirt walls, dozens of them, maybe hundreds, all different sizes. Some looked like they came from adults. Others were smaller, much smaller, children's hands. Oh God, Brandon breathed. Tom, we need to leave. Right now. He was right. Every instinct I had was screaming at me to run. But I took one more step forward, shined my light further down the tunnel. The breathing stopped. In the silence that followed, I heard something else. Footsteps, slow, deliberate steps, coming from deeper in the tunnel, getting closer. Go, I said. Go now. We ran. I've never moved so fast in my life. Behind us, the footsteps sped up, matching our pace. I could hear something else too, a dragging sound, like something being pulled along the ground. Brandon reached the stairs first, started climbing. I was right behind him. Halfway up, I made the mistake of looking back. There was a hand reaching around the corner of the tunnel, pale white, fingers too long, too thin. As I watched, it pressed against the tunnel wall, and the arm followed, then a shoulder. I didn't wait to see the rest. I hit the stairs and climbed, taking them 3 at a time. Brandon was already out, holding the door open. I cleared the top, and we both grabbed the door, slamming it shut. We dragged everything we could find: old boards, chunks of concrete, a rusted wheelbarrow, and piled it on top of the door. "Did you see it?" Brandon asked. His hands were shaking. "Yeah, I saw it." We got back to his truck and sat there for a minute, both of us breathing hard. "What was that?" Brandon finally asked. "I don't know, but we're not telling anyone about this. Agreed?" He nodded. Agreed. We drove back to town in silence. That night, I went to the library. Mrs. Halloway has been the librarian in Ashford for 40 years. If anyone knew the history of the Whittaker property, it would be her. She was reluctant to talk at first, but I told her I'd been out there, told her about the tunnel, the handprints. Her face went pale. "I was hoping that place would just fade away," she said quietly. "Be forgotten." She pulled out some old newspaper articles, yellowed with age. The Whittaker family had disappeared in 1956. All 5 of them, parents and 3 children, just vanished one night. The father, Harold Whittaker, had been doing excavation work under the house, told neighbors he'd found old foundations, wanted to see how deep they went. For months, neighbors reported hearing digging sounds at night, constant digging, night after night. Then, one morning, the house was silent. The door was open, but the family was gone. Police investigated, found the tunnel under the house. They went down about 100 feet before they turned back. Couldn't say why, but every officer who went down came back up looking sick. They sealed it up, condemned the property. "Every few decades," Mrs. Halloway said, "someone buys the place, thinks they'll fix it up. Then strange things start happening and they leave. The town council tried to get the state to tear it down, but the paperwork always gets lost. It's like the property doesn't want to be destroyed." "What's down there?" I asked. She looked at me for a long moment. "I don't know, but I know people have been disappearing near that property for over 100 years. Long before the Whittakers lived there. The old-timers used to say the forest had doors, places you could step through and end up somewhere else, somewhere wrong." I thanked her and left. Went home, locked all my doors, tried to sleep. The footsteps on my porch started at 2 in the morning. 3 days later, Brandon didn't show up for his shift. His girlfriend called the station, frantic. He'd left for work that morning, but never arrived. Chief Davis organized a search. We found his truck at the Whittaker property, parked right next to the cellar door. The barricade we'd built was scattered across the yard. The door was wide open. "Everyone gear up," Chief Davis ordered. "We're going in." I wanted to argue, wanted to tell him what we'd seen down there. But Brandon was missing. We couldn't just leave him. There were 4 of us, Chief Davis, me, and 2 other firefighters named Pete and Wilson. We descended into the tunnel with high-powered lights and radios. At the bottom, we found that the tunnel branched off, multiple passages, all sloping downward. "Stay together," Chief Davis ordered. "Call out every 30 seconds." We chose the main tunnel and started walking. The breathing sound was back, louder now, and it wasn't coming from one direction. It was all around us, echoing from multiple passages. About 50 feet in, I found Brandon's flashlight. It was still on, lying in the middle of the tunnel. "Brandon," I called. "Brandon, can you hear me?" My voice echoed down the tunnels. For a moment, there was silence. Then, from somewhere ahead, here, we moved forward. The tunnel opened into a circular chamber, maybe 20 feet across. Brandon was standing in the center, his back to us. "Brandon," Chief Davis said carefully, "are you okay?" Brandon didn't respond, didn't move. "Brandon, we're here to help you. Turn around." Slowly, he turned. His eyes were completely black, not just the pupils, the entire eye, from corner to corner, black as pitch. When he spoke, his voice was layered with others, dozens of voices speaking in unison. "We've been waiting," Brandon said. "The door was opened. Now we can leave." From the side tunnels, I heard movement, scraping sounds, footsteps, lots of them. "Run," I said. "Everyone run, now." Things started emerging from the side passages, pale figures, too thin, with those same long fingers I'd seen before. They moved wrong, twitching and jerking, crawling on the walls, on the ceiling. There were dozens of them. We ran. Pete grabbed Brandon, and I helped him drag the kid back toward the entrance. Behind us, those things were coming, moving impossibly fast. I could hear them breathing, could hear their fingernails scraping on stone. We hit the stairs and climbed. Chief Davis was behind me, Wilson behind him. The things reached the base of the stairs, started climbing after us. Their movements were spider-like, using all fours, sometimes inverting to crawl on the ceiling. "Move! Move! Move!" Chief Davis shouted. We cleared the top of the stairs. Chief Davis and I grabbed our tools and started collapsing the entrance. We smashed the old stone, brought down dirt and rocks. One of those things had made it halfway up. We could see its pale hand reaching out of the darkness. I brought my axe down on the stones above it, and the entrance collapsed. We dragged Brandon away from the door. His eyes were clearing, the blackness fading. He blinked, looked around. What happened?" he asked. "You don't remember?" Chief Davis asked. Brandon shook his head. "I remember parking. I was going to check on the property. Then, nothing. What am I doing here?" We got him to the truck, called in the incident, had the police come out. Chief Davis told them we'd found an unstable tunnel system under the property, high risk of collapse, needed to be sealed properly. 2 days later, a crew came out and filled the entrance with concrete. 40 tons of it poured right into the ground. The property was officially condemned, fenced off. No trespassing signs everywhere. Brandon quit the department. Moved out of state, last I heard. Won't talk to anyone from Ashford. Chief Davis doesn't assign anyone to calls near that property anymore. But it's not over. I still hear the footsteps on my porch, 2-3 times a week now. I've seen those same footprints around other houses in town. Different houses each time. Last week, I responded to a call on the other side of town. House fire, routine. While clearing the basement, I found handprints pressed into the concrete wall. Small ones, like a child's hands. Whatever was under the Whitaker house, it's spreading. I don't know what to do about it. Chief Davis won't talk about it. The town council doesn't want to hear it. As far as they're concerned, the problem is sealed up and dealt with. But I know better. I'm writing this because someone needs to know. Someone needs to understand what's happening here. If you're a first responder anywhere and you find a door that wasn't there before, walk away. Some fires aren't meant to be put out. Some doors aren't meant to be closed. And some things that were buried should stay that way. The thing is, we didn't bury it, we just trapped it. And I'm starting to think it's finding new ways out. Last night, I woke up at 2 in the morning. The footsteps were back, but this time they weren't on the porch. They were inside my house, in the hallway, coming toward my bedroom. I lay there in the dark, listening to them get closer. One step, another, another. They stopped outside my door. I'm still here, still alive. Whatever's out there, it's just watching. For now. But I don't think I have much time left. None of us do. If you're reading this, and you live in the Adirondacks, be careful. Check your basements. Check your crawl spaces. Look for handprints in the dirt or concrete. Look for doors that shouldn't be there. And whatever you do, don't open them. Some things were buried for a reason. We just forgot to ask what would happen if they got out.